Good day, everyone. I don't know what time it is where you are. It's evening time here, so good day. And thank you so much for joining us today. And our presentation is titled From Zero to 200,000, Unlocking the Power of OER for Student Savings and Success. I am Danielle Colbert-Lewis, and I serve as the Assistant Director of Library Services at the James E. Shepherd Memorial Library at North Carolina Central University.
And hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I am Dr. Charlotte Russell Cox, and I serve as the Associate Director for the Office of E-Learning at North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina. So we're going to get our presentation started today by having some measurable objectives. So what is an OER? So our presentation will focus on open educational resources, of course. And so our focus today, hopefully after this presentation, you will be able to describe the 5 R's of OERs: revise, retain, reuse, remix, and redistribute. Identify research-based criteria in a framework for selecting appropriate OERs, and develop best practices and strategies for implementing OERs in relationship to Quality Matters General Standard 4.
So I'll start for us here. Well, in 2017, the UNC University of North Carolina system conducted OER training for all the 17 institutions. And that same year, Criminal Justice Department at North Carolina Central University received $30,000 from the provost office, along with an additional grant from Merlot. And the Criminal Justice Department showcased OER to their faculty that year, and the James E. Shepherd Memorial Library, I was at that training, showcased and introduced OER to the wider campus. So that started it with the Criminal Justice Department, their OER journey. And right now, our current research that we're working on examines the impact of OER resources and also the potential integration of artificial intelligence with criminal justice classes. And the focus is on how these tools influence students' academic experiences, financial burdens, engagement, and learning outcomes. So we're going to do a study that will look at how faculty decision-making and design practices when incorporating OER and artificial intelligence into online courses, hopefully, especially for adult learners, how that will impact them. So what is an open educational resource? And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but OER are resources that are free materials that educators can use, which are not copywritten, restricted, and open educational resources have open licenses for users to revise, retain, reuse, remix, and redistribute.
So now I'm going to talk a little bit about Quality Matters General Standard 4. At North Carolina Central University, we are a Quality Matters institution. So we use best practices with the Quality Matters rubric, which has 8 general standards. And General Standard 4 talks about instructional materials. And one of the things with Quality Matters that it promotes, having quality materials, including open educational resources that align with module level objectives and course level objectives. So with specific review standard 4.1 with Quality Matters, the focus is instructional materials may include but are not limited to textbooks, open educational resources, publisher or instructor created materials, slide presentations, expert lectures, videos, images, etc. So you can see with specific review standard 4.1, open education resources are in the forefront of this specific review standard. So let's talk a little bit about the 5 R's of OER. We have revise, you can adapt, modify, and improve. With retain, you can make and own a copy of that resource. With reuse, you can use it in different ways, wide range of ways to use that material. Remix, you can combine different resources and then redistribute. You can share it with others. So check-in time briefly, which one of the 5 R's of OER, revise, retain, reuse, remix, redistribute, is most appealing for the work that you do with students or faculty if you work with faculty. So brief check-in in the chat. Which one of the 5 R's is most appealing to you? What are you using? So let me check the chat real quick. Redistribute, remix, reuse. Okay. Okay, a lot of reuse, remixing. Exactly. All right. Thank you for that quick feedback.
So OERs in education, open educational resources can include many things, including courses, course materials, modules, textbooks, videos, test software, other tools and materials, or techniques used to support access of knowledge. So a wide range of materials can count as OER. And so again, that includes all of these things, simulations, assessments, book chapters, etc. Now, textbook cost, and we know this to be true. We've seen this noted. I think SNAP noted the cost of textbooks in the U.S. have increased by 1,041% since 1977, including 82% between 2002 to 2013. And this was cited in 2016. So you can imagine, and this was cited again in 2018. So you can imagine what's happening now with textbooks, with everything going on with inflation. So I guess true or false, the annual cost of textbooks materials is over $1,000. In the chat, what do you all think? Is that true that the annual cost is over $1,000 for materials and textbooks? I would say, is that true or false? I kind of let that one. My fault. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of true. So for example, and you'll see on the next slide, at North Carolina Central University, our textbooks cost this past year, 24-25 was $1,500. So, and you'll see this is a list of the 17 schools in the UNC system, and a few schools had over $1,000 for textbook costs. So we weren't the highest, but we were around there.
Thank you for that information. Now we're going to explore the framework for selecting OERs. So Zhang et al., there was a framework that they discovered to help faculty members select quality open educational resources. So there's a purpose and has 7 criteria that we will explore here in a second. Ease of use, which has 4 criteria. Content, which has 5 criteria, and pedagogy, which has 9 criteria. So let's talk a little bit about the purpose. When you're helping faculty members select OERs, you should consider criteria such as providing open, accessible, and quality content, sharing best practices for learning resources, helping developing countries improve learning, offering informal and non-formal knowledge pathways, improving online quality education, greater awareness of open and inclusive educational practices. So these are some of the considerations with criteria. And we have a reference page and resources page at the end as well. Also, ease of use with this 4 criteria. We have OER corresponds with an open content license. That's something to consider. The OER can be reused, revised, or remixed. The screen design and the navigation systems are clear. The presentation methods correspond with the learner's abilities. So that's another way, ease of use criteria that should be explored when selecting appropriate OERs. Content. So the 5 criteria for content would be the goals and the content of OERs are easily understood. The content is accurate and up to date. That's an important one. Content covers concepts and enables understanding. And the content progresses from simple to more complex, like with that Bloom's taxonomy. And then the content is appropriate to students' knowledge, experience, and the demographics. And then finally, we have the pedagogy. So, for example, the OER gains and keeps students' attention. The OER helps recall and relate and apply knowledge. It provides structure and knowledge with skill transfer. The OER provides opportunities for task analysis, maybe hands-on. The OER text, images, audio, and video elements and hyperlinks provide diversity within learning. The design focuses on key aspects of learning. OER contains feedback and support and assessment. And OER enables students to consolidate learning and construct meaning through reflection and discussion. So these are just some considerations when selecting an appropriate OER.
So when I talk to faculty members, I typically start, well, about OER resources. I like to start with the library and the library's resources and accessing the library because they're familiar with that, and because journal articles that are accessible to the campus community can be OER as well as ebooks. So starting with those resources that are already there is where I start with faculty members. And I remind them about all of the library's resources because they are, we think of open educational resources, we will share with you a lot of the websites that have OER resources, but the library might be one that is shared less often. I hope it's shared more often, but just want to make sure that I do put that out to faculty first, and then I go over the other OER websites. So best practices for OER implementation. So using the criteria we just talked about, ease of use, content and pedagogy, selecting appropriate required and supplemental course books and materials. And while selecting materials, ensure that OER instructional materials align with course and module learning objectives, making sure, again, it makes sense, the resource that you're choosing, and then provide appropriate attribution to OER, such as Creative Commons information, providing credit, providing a link to the license, and or indicating if changes to the resources have been made. I also go over Creative Commons licensing with faculty members and making sure that they understand Creative Commons licensing, and we'll go over that a little bit. The most common licenses you'll see is probably CC BY. There's CC BY, which is pretty much you are able to copy and publish. You can pretty much redistribute, copy, publish, display, communicate it, etc. Then there's CC BY, share alike, CC BY, I think that is there's non-commercial, and then CC BY, non-commercial, share alike, and non-derivative. That's the one. CC BY ND is non-derivative. So you just have to pay attention to which resource you're using, but most of the time you will see CC BY, which means you can do pretty much what you need with it as long as you are attributing and giving credit. One more. These are the OER websites that we do go over with professors and faculty when they are starting the process, because when you have such specific courses, at one point, I think I've looked at each of these websites with each professor at some point, just because I want them to get a feel that these are all available to them. And there are pros and cons to OER, and we will also discuss that as well. So,
So go
I was gonna
ahead, Dr. Colbert Lewis.
well, thank you so much. I was going to say we can discuss some of the pros and cons that we've heard, but I would love to hear from you all in the audience. What are some of the pros and cons that you have heard from your campus about OER resources or adopting OER?
In the
And
chat
please,
if you want to share.
or come off the mute if you like. No pros and cons. Okay. Well, the main pro, which is, the draw for OER is that it doesn't cost students money day one, right? Day one readiness, that is the main pro. And the main con is I would say not heavy lifting in the beginning, but the amount of work that you may have to put into it compared to those big publishers and the LMS platforms being synced together. So yes, that has been that is the biggest con.
Sounds great. So we have some answers in the chat. Some faculty use big publisher textbooks because they're LMS platforms, teacher resources, so they don't have to create anything. Concerns about quality.
I call that hijacking of the LMS. It's so nice and easy.
Yes, concerns about quality. That's why we wanted to share that framework. And so I know we're right at time. So thank you all for sharing in the chat. Be sure to scan that QR code, provide some feedback about our presentation today. Feel free to reach out to us if there's any questions or if we can be any assistance to you.
And thank you. I see Pressbooks connects easily, so I'll have to look into that. Thank you.
Are you able to share the slides?
Yes, we can definitely share the slides. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to stop share and get that link for you.
Does anyone have any more questions? And I don't know if you all hear the band behind me. Just wanted to let you know what that was. If you do hear it, the band room is next to the library here. So a question came in, are faculty also expected to apply the criteria from Zhang for non-OER course materials? And I would say it's just a framework. So it's just a good best practice, as someone put it. The band is next to your library too. You understand me? Yes. Thought it was
And
only
the link to the presentation is in the chat. And it's a view file through Canva. So you can view that presentation. Any other questions?
Thank you all so much. We really appreciate your time and attention, and your questions will be here for a few more minutes to answer any questions you may have. And please feel free to reach out to us. I hope you're enjoying the conference.
Thank you all so much.
I had a question if you had a second there. So either
Yes.
one of you, so thank you. I thank you for the information. This is really great. I like the young selection. That's really actually very helpful. How does your institution handle faculty that want to write their own OERs? Is there funding for that, or how do they get funding for that, or what type of resources do you know that are available for that?
Well, in 2017, when the UNC system did train a lot of us about OER, there was funding at that time from the UNC system. And then, like I said, criminal justice, that particular department got a lot of funding from various avenues. And every now and then, funding will be available.
Okay.
I don't know, Dr. Cox, do you have any additional information?
Just grants, looking for helpful grants to help promote faculty members attending training. What we've learned, a lot of faculty members are interested in OER, but they're concerned about selecting appropriate materials. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to provide them with a selection framework to select appropriate OERs. So just finding an appropriate grant that will be helpful to help with training, training faculty on how to select OERs and how to remix and use it. So just basically finding a grant is helpful.
Yeah. Well, it's great. We have in Oregon, we have Open Oregon. We're working on writing a text now from them, and there's grants available for that. So that's just like applauding Oregon for that one. And then I'm thinking at my own institution, because I also work up in Washington State. I work at both institutions. And in Washington State, we had a grant an option at our college, and then it went away.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just that stability of funding sometimes for those types of things is hard. But Open Oregon has been really good about consistent funding. So I was just applauding Oregon for that. So it's just a wonderful one. But I was thinking more at the where I was thinking in Washington State, I was trying to find. So I'll probably reach out to my local state board kind of folks and ask questions that might be helpful. As you just gave me another idea, like, oh, that's probably a place to go. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.